Alright gang, in today's video I just want to give my thoughts and opinions on this new Call of Duty. This was a gameplay I had from the beta. This is just something I had in the bank from playing. You might hear a little game audio, and I was chit-chatting with the gang in this, but I have it turned down, so you shouldn't have too much like of a conflict between me talking now in the gameplay, and I'm probably going to slap some music on it anyways. But we're going to go ahead and let this rip, and I wanted to just kind of talk about where I think the future of Warzone's going, the future of Call of Duty multiplayer, and overall experience from beta. So, first impression of beta, the game seems very polished. I didn't notice too many bugs. There's definitely a few things that I've noticed that were frustrating. We'll get to that at a later point, but I think we just need to address like the game as a whole right now. I think the biggest thing with this title, it kind of seems like a consolation prize, and I've seen this so much, and I hate using this word because there's a lot to this game, but with that being said, this really seems like a DLC. Okay, so these maps aren't new to us. I mean, they might be new to some people. I grew up playing these maps. I'm excited about the maps, but in the same sense, I'm not really into COD right now for quote unquote nostalgia. Like I'm not looking for nostalgia when I play COD. I'm looking for a good game. I'm looking for a good title. If nostalgia is part of that, that's fine. But I'm really looking at overall game quality. And that's really what we're gonna dive into right now. So we've already noticed a big increase so far, even just in the beta alone, from last year's title in terms of movement, gun handling, gunplay, and that's. But the thing is, that's really about it. I mean, the sound's pretty similar. The sound engine seems maybe a touch different, but in reality, the UI is all the same. Everything really has mostly the same looks. Like the flags at the top of the map right now, all the little logos, stuff like that. Everything really looks just about the same. The munition box logo, anything that could give the game a new vibe, maybe a new look, hasn't been added, and that's one thing I think we're gonna lack this year if they don't have it for the main release, is going to be originality. So my hopes for this COD, engine aside, gameplay aside, I want the vibe to feel new. I want to feel like I'm playing a new game and not just a DLC, because that's really and truly what it feels like. With that being said, I don't want to sit here and say, well, the game just doesn't feel good, it doesn't play good. The movement's incredible. There are some things lacking in the movement department. I think they will address and they will fix. But I mean, what a massive upgrade we are getting from last year. Going into Warzone 2, there's some things that I think are going to conflict each other. Like, I don't believe we're going to be able to run the same gear that we run in multiplayer for Warzone, and some of the gear increases slide speed, increases, you shoot while sliding, aim down sight while sliding, stuff like that. Not having that in Warzone, I think, will make the difference. I mean, I could definitely see that making the difference pretty quick. But in terms of this whole sliding, that seems to be the biggest thing everyone's talking about. It's like the sliding, the movement in terms of that. There's a delay. I don't know if anyone noticed it. When you slide in this game, there is a delay after the slide. You almost kind of hesitate for a second, and that still gives you that more or less of that quote unquote clunky feeling that I feel like we're trying to get rid of with COD. I mean, if you look at Call of Duty in a whole over the past 15 years, Call of Duty is supposed to be an arcadey shooter. It's extremely fast movement. The movement's not supposed to be realistic. I think it's a good thing, and I can't believe I'm saying this. It's a good thing we're moving away from Infinity Ward this year. Infinity Ward has just like gone off the bandwagon on this realism kick, where they're trying to make these arcadey shooters like super realistic and super fun. That's cool for the campaign, but in terms of multiplayer, this is a competitive shooter. This isn't supposed to be Escape from Tarkov. This isn't supposed to be, Battlefield. This is Call of Duty, one of the most, if not the most competitive FPS in the entire world. And it's not feeling like that as the past year. And it's starting to get better though. Like, I feel like the changes we're seeing right now in beta are changes we could have seen in last year's title, where everyone would have been like, okay, we're taking a step in the right direction. I'm extremely excited for this game. but I am not. I just not that I am not, but I'm worried that I'm going to get a sense of maybe burnout with this title relatively quick if everything feels the same, if the UI feels the same, if I'm jumping into Warzone and the building textures are the same, the vehicles are the same. I mean, that's one thing I don't understand. Warzone 1's vehicle concept was phenomenal. And for this game to not host something that was just so perfect, like they didn't have to fix that at all. I mean, the vehicles worked great, and now the handling is just, it is horrendous. And to think that they're going to transfer that over is really frustrating. Again, anything they can do to make this feel like it's not a $70 DLC would be absolutely incredible. I think another thing that needs to be stated, COD wasn't even planning on releasing a title this year. This was already in the works. When they announced they weren't planning on releasing a title, they claimed they were working on an extension. The extension was to be Modern Warfare 3, but when release came, now when release is coming, they're starting to name it as a new title, a new game. If we're gonna be that far in development, give us our money's worth in the same sense. If it's just gonna be a quote unquote extension, if we're not going to see massive changes rather than, oh, well, we get 16 original MW2 maps, we get recycled maps, which are the best maps, but we get these recycled maps, we get a little bit of a movement increase and guns that we're used to just with new names. Like in this gameplay right now, I believe this gun was called the MCW. It's the ACR. Like I am not convinced otherwise. This is 1000% the ACR. Um, it's just that it's all refurbished. It's all scrapped. So I definitely want to see something new to make it worth it. In terms of Warzone 3, I guess is what we're going to call it. I mean, that hasn't been confirmed. I don't know if they're going to continue to call it Warzone 2. The map, Urzikstan, looks absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, it's one of those things you can't just look at a map and say, oh, that's a great map. You're going to need to play it and really get some reps in to get a feel for it. And that's not just like a day of playing, 2 days of playing. You play a map for about a week and then you'll have an idea. After about a week, you'll know if you want to play it or not. With Verdansk, you played it for a week, and then before you realize that you're at work, you're at school, and you're like, God, I can't wait to get home and play this map or do. So hopefully we get that same feeling. The map is definitely like a remake of Verdansk. It's not Verdansk, but it's very similar. Feels more urban than not, but I think it's going to be a positive change in terms of maps. We're covered this year with maps. If we were talking in this review solely based on maps, we are eating good. I mean, we are absolutely full right now. But that's not necessarily the case. We're not just talking maps. I mean, we got to look at everything about the game. I know there's a huge transfer portal from Modern Warfare 2 coming in MW3 for operators and skins, which that should tell you enough right there. If your operators, your certain weapon blueprints, stuff like that are transferring over, that should let you know, like as a consumer, as a player, that the game is really just a port of Modern Warfare 2. It's an updated port. It is more or less an expansion of Modern Warfare 2. I just don't want to see this game have such a solid base. Like this is what I would call a solid base. When I'm playing a Call of Duty this early on and it feels this fluent, we have a lot of things that are positive. That's a solid base. MW2 didn't really start on a solid base. I will say this though, MW2 beta, I don't know if anyone remembers this, with Modern Warfare 2 beta, bunny hopping was a thing. Undoubtedly, if you played MW2 beta last, whatever, September, October, whenever it was, that everybody was bunny hopping. It was gas. It was like really good bunny hopping. And when the game released, it was completely gone. It makes me wonder about this game. Are we going to see any of these features removed by the time the game releases? There's no telling. I know they've already been actively nerfing and buffing through beta, which is super duper cool. Sledgehammer has always seemed to be very dialed in when it comes to community feedback. So I'm hoping in terms of Warzone, we'll start seeing more of the weekly updates, every 2 week updates. With the first Warzone, we had updates all the time. All the time. It was every other week. What was it, every other Thursday? We seem to have gotten updates we need that back, because with Modern Warfare 2, we get an update, it feels like only on season releases, and it's no bueno. That can't keep doing its thing. I mean, Warzone lost so much player base, like a ridiculous amount of player base, and also lost a lot of competitiveness and the competitive aspect of the game. It's hard to feel like you're playing competitive when you're running through mud, and I think that's where this game's gonna excel. I uploaded a game yesterday from the Rust gameplay using an SMG, and the way I was sliding around the map and moving around the map, I felt like I was absolutely flying. I definitely think there's some things we can change. I noticed on guns like this one right here, this ACR, the ADS speed and the strafe speed on this AR are absolutely phenomenal. That's a huge buff. We noticed with ARs in general, and some SMGs in previous titles, strafe speeds have been slowed down. The game was just kind of like a stick in the mud. But overall analysis of this game, it's going to be a solid title. I'm really looking forward to it, but the developers are going to have to be on their P's and Q's to absolutely make sure that this sticks, to make sure that this game is going to be what it's cracked out to be. I feel good. I am enjoying it. I'm going in this year positive. I'm extremely excited for the hard release. We will have beta on PC this week. I'm extremely excited about that. And it looks like we'll be moving forward from there. But as of right now, there's definitely some small stuff we can work on. Nothing game breaking. Nothing that's just like a deal breaker for me. Gang, listen. If you are new to the channel, you enjoy the content, if you're excited for the game, man, hit that sub button. Crush that like button. I'll catch you all tomorrow for another banger. Let's get it, gang.